I've tuned in today to talk to you about eliminating worry and anxiety. Now, the reason why I want to speak to you about this is because it's something that has been really prevalent throughout my life, and worry and anxiety is something that we all experience at some time. But for me, it happened really early on. So my mum would always talk to me about how when I was a teenager growing up, I was always worrying about the smallest things. So I want to share with you today my top 3 tips for eliminating worry and overwhelm and anxiety. And also I just want to first of all share with you that these 3 tips are not just something that are down on paper. These are things that I use in my life every day. When I recorded this, it was actually 1 week out from our wedding, so a lot of things going on and a lot of things to potentially worry about. So without further ado, tip number 1 is to become very present in the moment. The reason why I share this with you as tip number 1 is because we can't focus on the present moment and anything else at the same time. So to become really present, what I do is to sit really still. So to find myself a comfy seat, to put my feet on the floor, to close down my eyes, and to start to focus on my breath. And as I do that, I start to breathe in through my nose and then take the breath down into my belly. And then I visualize the breath going even further down through the soles of my feet and into the floor. And I simply sit here and do this nice and slowly several times. And I find that the world that I'm experiencing becomes much smaller from this big state of anxiety and concern and worry, and becomes much more focused on myself and my body. So that's tip number 1. Tip number 2, I've actually borrowed from Richard Branson. I absolutely love these 2 questions. The first one you'll be familiar with. It's, well, what's the worst case scenario? So it's quite easy for us to come up with a list of things that could happen. That's how our brains are naturally wired. But the second part of the question is the most important. If that did happen, could I handle it? And I love this because often when we actually ask ourselves, well, could I handle it? We surprise ourselves. We surprise ourselves with the resourcefulness and our courage or our ability to get through whatever that thing is. So if we think that we can handle it, the fear or the worry subsides. If it's still hanging around, then we can move through to step 3. That is, what can I do about it right now? If there is something that you can do about it right in that moment, great. Do it and then forget about it, let it go. But if you can't do anything about it in that moment, then simply worrying even more is not going to serve you. It's not going to let it go. It's not going to create a solution. So if you can't do anything about it, simply let it go. And I invite you lovingly back to step 1, which is become present. So those are the 3 steps: become present, the Branson questions, what's the worst case scenario, and could I handle it? And number 3, what can I do about it right now? If nothing, let it go. If something, do it. I trust that those will serve you the next time that you catch yourself worrying about something, and I'd love to hear your experiences. So send me an email. I'll talk to you soon. Thanks. Bye.